this is failure to launch Warcraft. Now, I unironically love the Warcraft movie. I think if they were to have done it in a better way that actually the Warcraft fans would have loved, and they would have created more movies, I think that would have been the best universe, our best multiverse that we would have went into. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and we have a world where there's only one, and it was a pretty big fail. But let's see what this is about, because it does sadden me that it was such a bad movie, and there hasn't been any more Warcraft movies. The World of Warcraft lore it is great lore. It's a great universe. It's a great world. It sucks that there's not a lot of representation in media. It's just the Warcraft books and like some comics and stuff. It's shitty. But let's see what this is about. This is by Eisenhart Productions. Let's see what this is about.
Until recently, live-action video game adaptations had a stigma of being pretty terrible. From the mid-90s to the late 2010s, there were a slew of terrible adaptations that failed with critics, fans, and general audiences. It gave birth to the term video game movie curse, because every time
they were all
studio
bad.
tried to launch a franchise based on a popular video game, it always blew up in their faces.
Yep.
Luckily, in the modern age, Hollywood has finally figured out how to adapt these stories, as we've seen some great adaptations
why not?
in both film and television. However,
Right.
the remnants and memories of these video game movies still exist, and the graveyard of abandoned properties still linger in the hearts of many. A prime example of this type of film is 2016's Warcraft. So
There
I
it
wanted to
is.
revisit this movie to
That's
try
the
and
one.
understand where it all went wrong and why this film failed to launch the franchise it was supposed to.
Shit, man. Dude, it should have done so good.
The story of
Should've
Warcraft
been
starts
so
all the way
good.
back in 2006. The company that owns World of Warcraft, Blizzard,
Yep.
announced they were going to produce a
Dog
live-action
shit.
adaptation with Legendary Pictures. The film was going to be set in the same universe found in the game Warcraft,
Yeah.
Orcs and Humans. However, this version
the
of
one.
the film was later dropped because Blizzard thought it would be too close to the Lord of the Rings franchise. The film was expected to come out in 2009.
So,
But as the year came and went, they hadn't even finished the
what is the problem? I don't see the problem with it being close to the Lord of the Rings franchise. That's what you do. If you look at any like good media coming out today, it's already been taken and like parts of it are dissected from other good media of 20 years ago. It's what you do. You master steal. Okay? They just reuse because it's fucking good and they know it's good. They know how to make it good. Make Lord of the Rings, but Warcraft. That's what we fucking wanted. Duh. It's what everybody wanted.
script or had a director attached.
Billions.
Filmmaker Uwe Boll made a bid to direct, but Blizzard quickly shot him down, and shot him down pretty harshly. Here's a quote from Boll as he recounted the story on MTV Movies. "We will not sell the movie rights, not to you, especially not to you, because it's such a big online game success. Maybe a bad movie would destroy that ongoing income, what the company has with it."
Right.
This response seems pretty harsh, but if you know anything about Uwe Boll, then you know it's deserved. Sam Raimi was attached to direct, but he had to leave the project because he was busy making Oz the Great and Powerful, when Blizzard wanted to go into production. Raimi was replaced by Duncan Jones early in 2013.
I feel like a Raimi Warcraft would have been so good. I feel like he would have done it so good. You never know, but like, I feel like he would have done it a lot better.
Once he was aboard, he immediately got to work rewriting the script.
It was too
Jones
confusing.
reportedly changed about 50% of the script so that it didn't fall into the stale fantasy trope of humans being the good guys and orcs being the bad guys. At the 2013 Comic-Con,
Okay, but what if that's what people wanted?
Was presented, and Jones announced that the film was going into production in 2014. Travis Fimmel was cast to play the lead role, and the rest of the cast was filled with the talents of Ben Foster, Paula Patton, Dominic Cooper, and Tony Kebbell. Principal photography kicked off in January of 2014 and lasted 4 months, while post-production lasted a whopping 20 months due to the heavy special effects needed for the film. The score was done by the
Not surprising,
Ramin
really.
Djawadi, and is one of the highlights of the film. For the most part, there weren't any major problems during production. However, the making of this film was hard on the director Duncan Jones, as right when he was attached to the project, his wife had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. Additionally,
Damn,
Duncan
that's
Jones'
actually really
father,
shitty.
David Bowie, tragically passed away just a couple months before the film's release from cancer. As Jones noted in an article by the New York Times,
Sorry,
it was
wait,
additionally
I don't
done
know.
right when he was attached
I don't know if I like went mentally okay. What did he have to do with that?
to the project. His wife had just been diagnosed with breast cancer. Additionally, Duncan Jones' father, David Bowie, tragically passed away just a couple months before the film's release.
It was a different last
from
name, so I was
cancer.
like, okay.
As Jones noted in an article by the New York Times, my film started and ended with cancer, but
That's so
shitty.
shitty.
His film. The film.
You gotta give it to him though. Like, you really have to give it to him though. I mean, it started. What was it? Yeah, it started with his wife getting cancer and ended with his dad dying of cancer. Or vice versa. I completely forget, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. I'm like second guessing myself. That is shitty. That's actually really shitty. I feel like you gotta give it to him. He trooped through it.
To come out on December 18th of 2015, but that date coincided with the release of Star Wars: The Force Awakens, so it was pushed back.
Release
to
it
the 10th
anyways.
Of 2016 instead.
You would have beat it.
After over a decade, the long-awaited Warcraft film was finally released to the public.
Actually, if they would have waited like 4 days after The Force Awakens, then maybe it would have done really well, because everyone was like hating on The Force Awakens and like John Boyega's part and a lot of other stuff. A lot of people were hating on it. And Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, they were hating on his part too. They thought he was like a big whiny bitch. It would have made a lot of money.
This movie's budget was $160 million, so that means it would need to gross around $450 to $500 million in order to break even. A common rule of thumb in the industry is that a movie
it's all that
needs to
CGI,
at
dude.
least double its budget in order to break even, because that first budget number doesn't account for marketing, distribution, the theater's cuts, residuals, and other such factors.
Yes,
and with a movie
of
like
course.
Warcraft that has a
well,
global
like, yeah, you're not gonna
distribution
put in $1,000 and, you know, want $500. Like, I guess a better way to put it, you're not gonna want to build a business and put $100,000 into the business, buying product and doing all that, and only make $100,000. You know, you just made your money back and broke even. What you want to make more, right? Obviously, that's what you want to do. Because I was putting it into stock terms, but that's not a good one-to-one. But yeah, like if you're making shirts, for example, or shoes or something, whatever it is, right? You don't want to put $50,000 and only get 50,000. You want to get 100,000 or more, or you want to get more than 50,000.
Marketing. This film
Simple.
probably needed to make back 2.5 times its budget. In the film's opening weekend, it made $24 million, debuting at number 2 in the box office, right behind The Conjuring 2. Throughout its total domestic run in the U.S., this film only made $47 million, which is not even close to the $450 million that it needed to break even.
A little
However,
off.
This film was saved by the overseas market, as it made $391 million
there you go.
internationally, and a majority of that was from one
89.2%, sorry, of its total revenue came from international sales. That's crazy.
country. China is really what saved this film from totally bombing, as this movie made $225 million in China alone. If it didn't gross those numbers in China, this film would have been a disaster at the box office. This film's total worldwide gross was $439 million, which is a lot of money, and in fact, Warcraft was the highest grossing
it was such a good movie,
at the
dude.
time. But
like, look at Gul'dan.
Still wasn't enough to hit that break-even point. And the Hollywood Reporter
you really
put
see
the
his
loss
power.
around $15 million for the production companies. It's weird to think that the highest-grossing video game movie at the time
And the
is
armor
still considered a
looks
financial
good.
failure, because its budget was just too damn
And
high.
that, like,
so
oh,
those
it's
are the
so
box
funny,
office
dude.
numbers. But what
Such a
about the
good,
response
like,
from critics and fans?
You're so in the world of Warcraft. Roll the credits. But you're just so in it. You just can't stop, and you just want to see all of it. You want to see it all take place. So fucking good, dude. I love this movie.
Well, the response from critics and the general audience was rough, but the response from the fans was actually pretty good. Take the film's Rotten Tomatoes score for an example. as there's a huge difference between the critics' score of 29% and the audience's score of 76%.
That's true. I have heard a good amount of people saying that the Warcraft movie was, it wasn't good because it was confusing of what was going on because of the way they framed the timelines of everything. It was like before everything, and so it was like, oh, people won't know, and like it was a very weird timeline dilemma, and I think that's why a good majority of the fans that actually didn't like it didn't like it. I don't know about the critics. I think they're just fucking stupid like usual. But yeah, like I have heard general discourse, not just seeing the scores, that people were kind of upset with the story framing of Warcraft. But I fucking love the movie. Knowing a good amount of the lore, I love the movie.
Personally, I think that 29% is a little too harsh, but we'll get to my review at the end. First, we have to discuss why this film never had the sequel that it built up at the end of the movie.
Yeah. I'm actually curious about this too.
Following this film's release, it was reported that the studios did in fact want to make a sequel,
Cool,
and it even had a title. It was going to be called Warcraft 2: Tides of Darkness. Duncan Jones had his eyes set on revealing the Night Elves and more characters, so this sequel would have had an expanded cast. In 2017, Duncan shared some details on what a sequel might look like on his Twitter. The main orc focus would have been Goel's imprisonment in violent bid for his freedom, and the Alliance focus would have been on Khadgar's unleashing Pandora's box, Lothar's Ark, and Varian. I'm not familiar with the names, but I'm assuming these
Varian
teasers
Wren
mean something for the fans of the series.
Yeah.
Any more news,
So
but I'm assuming these box
Khadgar unleashing Pandora's box, that's definitely not fucking good. The Lothar arc, which I'm not 100% sure of the lore on that, and then Varian Wren, who's a fucking absolute beast. This would have been a good fucking movie. I think this would have been a good movie. Why? And could have spun off into spin-offs. It could have spun off into small shows, anime shows, like animated shows, not necessarily anime. Like all of that. Why? Could have been so good.
Lothar's Ark and Varian.
Do little shows. I think they should do little shows. Like, I know a lot of people don't really like it, just because people are kind of fed up with streaming services and shows and shit. But I think, like, you know, a really well done show would do so good.
The games, but I'm
so
assuming
good.
these teases mean something for the fans of the series. There wasn't any more news on Warcraft 2 until 2018, when Duncan Jones replied
Khadgar's
to a tweet and
strong
said that
mage.
the likelihood of a sequel doesn't look good. And in an interview with Joe Blow the same year, Jones had this to say when asked about a sequel.
He's
No
a
one
mage.
really knows
Second
why
guessing
or
myself
if a
again.
sequel will get made at this point.
Ah.
I think no one is kind of ready to pull the trigger one way or the other. One of the things
Dude, I would be. I'd be like, let's fucking go.
Is it's very easy to say no to things. It's very hard to say yes because that's when you get fired. You don't get fired for saying no. You get fired for saying yes. And with a Warcraft sequel, no one wants to pull the trigger. However, in 2020, there were rumors that
that's how it works in some industries, especially stuff like this where you have to appease a lot of people, and it can be divisive. But if you make it good, people will like it. Just saying. Just saying.
The Warcraft film was in development
Do good,
at Legendary Pictures,
good.
but
Simple.
it was uncertain whether it would be a direct sequel or a reboot. Although now it's been 4 years since that report, and we still haven't heard any more news.
Correct.
I have a feeling
it's
if
done.
this new World of Warcraft movie ever
Especially
gets
with the recent allegations. Well, semi-recent allegations of Blizzard. Let's be real.
Then it will
like,
certainly be a reboot.
Jesus
I find
Christ.
it very unlikely that they would make a sequel to a film that didn't do the best domestic numbers nearly a decade after the movie came out. And a sequel
Corrupted
to Warcraft
orc.
is just too big of a gamble for studio executives to throw money at, given how big the budget to the first film was. I could see a reboot, and given the success of other video game properties we've seen as of late, maybe this reboot could even be a streaming series. But no matter what
there you
happens
go.
to this
See,
property
I
in the
told
future,
you.
I'm 99% certain we will not be getting a sequel to 2016's Warcraft.
So sad,
Spoilers
man.
for this
So
film
sad.
ahead in case you haven't seen this film already. Also,
Spoilers,
I've
you heard
never
it.
played the games before, so this review is from the point of view of someone who has no familiarity with the source material.
Alright,
As I
alright.
stated-
No, this is really good. This is pretty much as unbiased as you could get. This is an outsider's perspective. Obviously, he has his own biases towards certain things, but as a general scheme, he's not biased towards World of Warcraft. He, you know, I mean, he's never said one way or the other if he likes games or MMOs or anything, but this is pretty... I think this is a pretty good review to
earlier, I don't think
here.
this film is as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
There you
It's
go.
still not a good movie, but it's not terrible. Warcraft is below average in my opinion, as there's a lot of cool things.
Listen, it helps if you play the games. It helps if you play the games. I'm just saying, it helps.
Going on in this movie,
It
but it's
helps.
all ruined by some rushed and sloppy execution. Those are the two words that can best describe this movie. Sloppy and rushed.
Also,
this is very
Medivh kind of looked like he was, Can I get back to that shot? Let me just do this. Medivh kind of... Oh, sorry about that. Medivh kind of looks like he was, a forgotten, like, Imagine Dragons member, and he, like, now plays at local clubs or something, or just talks about how he used to be in a band. He didn't really look Medivh, you know?
Those are the two words that can best describe this movie. Sloppy and rushed. This is very evident in the third act of the movie.
Yes,
As there are some
it's
questionable
so...
editing choices and some questionable CGI.
Yeah,
For the most part,
it
the
is.
CGI in this movie is alright, as I think it fits the world this movie is trying to portray. But
Yeah.
not all of it is going to work, and
This was
certainly
weird.
some of it at the end looks a bit off. There's so much CGI in this film that you could almost call it an animated
What are you doing, bro?
movie. That's probably why the
That
budget
ain't look
for
right.
this film was just so damn huge, because all the orcs
Yeah.
are fully CGI. And it's not
Oh,
like these
shit.
orcs are minor characters either. A lot
Mhm.
of them are main characters that have a fair amount of screen time. But the weird part about
Yeah.
these CGI orc characters is that they are more interesting than the human characters. Tony Kebbell gives the best performance in this movie, and he's fully CGI. Duratan was my favorite character, and the one that I think had the most interesting journey.
The reason why Durotar has its name, and it is... Fuck, I forget who his son is right now. Is it Thrall? Is Thrall his son? I think so. I want to say Thrall, but I'm not 100% sure about that. It might be somebody else. But yeah, I know that he is the reason why Durotar has its name, because Durotar is named after him.
Character was very boring and dull in comparison, as his character arc is very cliche and by the numbers. I like the concept
Pretty
of
much,
Khadgar's character, but I personally did not like the performance by Ben Schnetzer. I found
Wait, that one was Khadgar? I know he's... I think he ends up being like a, in Dalaran, right? I'm not 100% sure about Khadgar right
the
now,
main
to be
villain
honest.
pretty interesting, but we never got any conclusion
But I didn't know
to
that
his
was
story.
Khadgar.
Obviously, this is because he was supposed to be interesting, but we never got like the performance by Ben Schnetzer. I found the main villain pretty interesting, but we never got any conclusion to his story. Obviously, this is because he was supposed to be in the sequel, but since that sequel will probably never happen, that means this movie feels very incomplete. The Guardians arc throughout the story was
Master
fun to watch,
Warlock.
even though you could see the twist coming from a mile away. But even with all its flaws, I would still call it an enjoyable watch. It's certainly not boring like the Assassin's Creed movie, as there's always something going on in Warcraft.
I haven't
But
seen that
at
one, so I
points,
don't know.
There's a little too much going on. Like, the action scenes are cool, but also a little overstimulating, since there's so much going on and so much being thrown at you. But at the end of the day,
I could see that being
you're
the
not
case,
going
yeah.
into this movie expecting Lord of the Rings level quality. You're going into this movie to be entertained and watch big, dumb action fight sequences. And this film delivers on that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yep. We want to see big, hairy men with big beards and big axes and big swords and big armor smashing each other with those big swords and big axes and big hammers into their armor and into shields and just murking each other. That's what we want to see. Maybe some awesome fireballs and shit too, which there was a bit of that, but
So
not
that's
enough.
the story of 2016's Warcraft. It's a movie that was almost a complete flop, but was saved by the
Almost.
overseas market.
Basically.
It had potential to launch a huge new film franchise, but the poor reviews coupled with the overinflated budget and the film's underperformance at the box office means we may never get to see that sequel. But what are your thoughts on the film? Do you like it? Hate it? Do you think it deserved a sequel?
I
I'd love
loved
to
it.
hear your thoughts in the comments below. This has been Tom from Eisenhower Productions, and thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, Tom.
See you next week.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, check that out. It's Eisenhower Productions, like I was saying. I loved it. I think it was a great fucking movie, and I really do hope that they do a sequel one day. I really don't think they will, but maybe they will. You never know. That's one thing that I absolutely would love to see is a sequel to this. Great video. Check them out. I'll give them a sub. Give them a like. Let's see what people are saying. I loved the movie. I wish they could make a sequel and keep going. Yeah, I liked the film, and I watched it 2 times in the cinema room. Seeing how great Blizzard cinematics tend to be, used to be. This is 6 months ago. I mean, maybe they're just talking about, like, quality-wise, like, graphic fidelity. Now they're a little bit, annoying. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, if they just made a 90-minute cinematic game trailer. Dude, if they made a 90-minute trailer like they did Arthas, you know, the Lich King trailer. Oh my god, like, that's all we want. We just want good fucking cinematic. We know you can do it, Blizzard. Thought it was a decent movie. I absolutely agree with the main orc was by far the best character in the movie. Yeah. Just saw it and I loved it. There you go. Honestly, how much story they crammed in there with how many characters they had. I still think it would have been better as a series, maybe even animated one with a more sleek and easy to animate style. That's what I was saying too. An animated series might have done well. That's 12 hours ago, so that's more newer stuff. They should have pulled a Star Wars and started with Warcraft 3. It's the game and story that really set off Warcraft for most people. Most people my age don't even know what happened in Warcraft 1 and 2. Yeah, see, that's the problem, is they went with the earlier storylines and a lot of people didn't like it. Yeah, I started with Warcraft 3 too, and great thing is, you don't really need to know the previous lore to follow the story. This is when Warcraft lore was at its best. That's true. I guess that's true to a point. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a lot of people just didn't like the time placing, but a lot of people loved the movie. Because it's worse than most Netflix movies and had terrible and mid-range actors who look like they just hit puberty. You know what? Yeah. Well, yeah, but Netflix also has a crazy high budget now, and the actors they just look like fucking dog shit. They didn't fit Warcraft. Let's be real. They needed to be like fucking John Berthal. The Punisher. I'm not 100% on the last name. I definitely mispronounced it. But yeah, no. I loved the movie. It was a great movie. I think if they would have went out and branched out into smaller projects and kind of got their footing, and this was 2016, mind you, so this wasn't as big as the streaming stratosphere wasn't as big as it is today. But fuck, like, even now, if they would just go out and make little small projects, little animated projects or whatever, I think it'd be really cool. Even just to see it. Like, I just want to see Warcraft lore on the screen and just watch it. Like Overlord. Overlord is such a good fucking anime. So fucking good. And it was like, it was almost just wow. But a little bit different. Like, tiny bit different. Overlord is such a good anime. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's so good. Like, that's what they should do, but wow. It'd be awesome.